We are going to go ahead and get started. So I'm super excited to talk about this today because y'all know how crazy I am about the Enneagram and how much I love it. So actually, I muted y'all, but I'm going to unmute you. So remind me again what your numbers are. A 2. Are you both 2s?
Yeah, I'm a 2 wing 1.
2 wing 1. And what are you, Sam?
2 wing 3.
2 wing 3. Okay. So Christy, that's how we have a lot of things in common with the 1 part. So I'm a 1 wing 9. And I put together some slides for us today to go through, and then I'm also going to kind of toggle back and forth between a website that I found, a couple websites that I found, and we're just going to talk about everything and just chat about it. So, where is it? Okay. I won't be able to see y'all while we talk about this. I'm going to try to do this. So I loved when I found this picture. So y'all watch Friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I loved when I found this picture yesterday that was all the Friends characters and their numbers, because it's just going to help us. Here, I can zoom in more. It's going to help remind you oh yeah, this is this person. So I guess I'll close this. So Enneagram 1 is Monica, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
When you think about her and me, we are a lot alike. So very high standards, organized, focused, perfectionist, critical. And then a number 2 is Gunther. So he's very generous, he's helpful, he is possessive and sees potential. So he's super possessive over Rachel, which is, makes total sense. So Rachel is a 3, so she's charming, popular, her image matters, and she is trendy. Mike is a 4, so he's expressive, sensitive, quirky, and loves love, which totally makes sense. Ross is a 5, so analytical, seeks knowledge, high-strung, and observant. Chandler is a 6. There's Christy. Let me let her in. Chandler is a 6, so he's stable, skeptical, he's a hard worker, and he's responsible. Joey is a 7, which totally makes sense. So impulsive, spontaneous, charismatic, curious, life of the party, scattered, which is a total 7. Janice is an 8, so she's honest, assertive, confident, and bold. And then Phoebe is a 9, being with harmony, peace. What does that say? Peacekeeper, passive aggressive, and trusting. So I thought that was really cool, and I'm probably going to keep this saved to my phone, because for me, a lot of times I forget, because I'm super familiar with 1s and 3s and 7s, and it's everything else I'm not super familiar with and don't always remember off the top of my head, you're definitely a 5, but if I can remember this, then it'll help me to remember everything. So I have a couple pages for each number. So we'll start off with the Enneagram 1. So that's the reformer. They also call it the perfectionist sometimes. And so I found these images on Instagram. If you go to Brush and Barley, I don't know if you guys follow her, but she creates all of these images, and they're always super spot on, and I think they're really pretty. So I like sharing them to my stories. But so number 1s don't like mistakes. They don't they have no missed messages on their phone. They have very high standards, good morals, ethical. They stand up for those who need it, and they love order. So they're super organized. They plan everything out. They always think that they could do better. They fear failure. Organization is life. Routine is good. Change is bad. If you know me, that is me to a T. That is me. Guilty of comparison, and that is also true. So this other one is they're very happy when they're sharing their knowledge, when justice is served, when they're being complimented on how they did something. when they're handling conflict with grace. Finishing house projects makes them super happy, which we finally started painting yesterday, so that makes me super happy. They love being recognized for their hard work. They like following the rules, and they like when life feels balanced, which is so true. So I put together like a little chart of strengths and weaknesses for each one, but I'll be honest, like I don't love the terms that this uses. The website that I got it from was actually talking about like the Enneagram and at work. And so these strengths and weaknesses are going to be how each Enneagram type shows up in a work environment. So an Enneagram 1 is honest, responsible, improvement oriented, and organized, but they can also be resentful, non-adaptable, overly critical, and be a perfectionist. So I wanted to show you guys these other two websites that I found. So this one is yourtango.com, and it's just like what the Enneagram reveals about who you really are. So what you're most passionate about. Let's see if we get down to where it talks about a 1. So a number 1 says, there's a better way to live life and you have a passion for making the world a better place. You often are intuitive and have a strong connection to the unknowable that connects us all. Learn how to notice your inner critic, that loud negative voice that tries to prevent you from doing things that you've never done before. This negative voice can prevent you from having new experiences out of your ego's need to keep you safe. You are now an adult and are most capable of taking care of yourself. So for me, what that tells me is that I need to be braver about taking chances and taking risks, because as a 1, I fear failure and I always want to do things perfectly. And so Christy, you are going to have some of these same tendencies, and it's like we need to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable and doing things that are outside of our comfort zone that we might fail at, but just knowing that just fail forward. So try something. If you fail, oh well, just get up and keep going. And then the other website I wanted to show you is the Enneagram Institute. So this one is really, really good. And we can go through every single one, but it has so much information. So a 1's basic fear is being corrupt or evil or defective. Their basic desire is to be good, to have integrity, and to be balanced. So an Enneagram with a 1, Enneagram 1 with a 9 wing is the idealist, and then an Enneagram 1 with the 2 wing is the advocate. So their key motivations are that they want to be right. That's so bad. To strive higher and improve everything, to be consistent, to justify themselves, and to be beyond criticism, so that not to be condemned by anyone. So that is just, there's so much here, but I'm not going to go through everything. So that is the Enneagram 1. So next we have the Enneagram 2, which is the helper, which is Sam and Christy. So the helper, they want people to like them. What is it? That others always come first. Sorry, I really need to zoom in because I'm having trouble reading this. Their favorite words are yes, yes, and yes. They have a hard time saying no. They fear being seen as selfish or not being told that they are loved. They will hold the door for you. They don't like conflict. They will cry with you. They enjoy being told thank you. Their basic needs are approval, love, acknowledgement of gestures, and forgiveness. So you can literally call them anytime and they will always pick up the phone. So that definitely describes you too, for sure. So things that feel good to 2s are healthy boundaries, giving a helping hand, feeling the love you give given back to you. When your help is not expected, they love being told thank you, and they love when they've been given proper appreciation. And they also love self-care, which probably doesn't happen a whole lot because they're always worried about helping other people. So the helper, their strengths are that they're caring, they're usually popular, like everybody loves them, they're the communicator, they're really good at listening and like having conversations with people, but sometimes their weaknesses is that they can be, this is in the workplace, remember this, that they can be seen as privileged or naive or maybe even too dependent on others. So if we go back to this little thing, the helper, it says you have a purpose to bond with others and help them. You love to make a difference in the lives of the people you meet and intuitively know what other people sometimes need better than they know themselves. Watch out for the times you put others' needs before your own. There will be times when you need to do this, but this cannot be a regular habit. Otherwise, you will burn yourself out. Remember, your relationship with yourself is just as important as the relationship you have with your family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers. At your best, you are a gift to the world, offering generous hospitality wherever you go. The gift is that you provide it without any expectations. It feels good to help when you can. So 2s are the helper, and they love to help no matter if they are going to get anything in return or not. And that makes you all really, really good coaches, because that's what we do as coaches, is help people. And that's what like brings you joy and brings you like the fire to keep going, is that you are helping people. So 2s, their basic fear is being unwanted or unworthy of being loved. So their basic desire is to feel love. Their key motivations are they want to be loved, to express their feelings to others, to be needed and appreciated, and to get others to respond to them. So this might mean that reading that, it just pops in my head, like if you have people who you're reaching out to or people who you've been in conversation with who then ghost you, then that might be a little bit harder for you to accept as a 2. And just know that going into it, that like, hey, like this is hard for me when people ignore me, or when people are interested and then back off and then they don't respond or they ghost me. Like, don't take it personally. Like, recognize that that's part of your personality, and that being a 2, that it's just naturally going to feel harder for you when that happens. But recognize that and know that you can work on that and move forward with it, and just focus on the people that you are helping and not focus so much on the people who don't respond, if that makes sense. So I think that's a good takeaway for 2s. Okay, so 3s are the achievers. So the 3s are the Rachel Hollises out there. She is an Enneagram 3. So I know I'm getting super close to the screen, but I can't read. So they are looked up to. They're ambitious. They encourage those around them. Music speaks to them. They're amazing cheerleaders for their friends. They are a goal maker, so they love setting goals, can't stop, won't stop. Their fear not doing enough or feeling worthless or being misunderstood, but people love being around them and they want to succeed. So the 3s are the goal setters, the people that are dreamers, that have these big audacious goals that they don't have any clue how they're actually going to do it, but they know that they're going to do it somehow. They're going to figure it out. So they love success and checking off goals. They love making connections with new people, getting invited to a fun time. Role model status. They love being looked up to. They love battling a deadline. And they love having a productive day at work. So they're the achievers, like it says, and they are always wanting to do more, do more, do more. It says you have passion for being successful at whatever you do. Your purpose is to encourage colleagues, friends, and families on their life journey. You're an excellent mentor who enjoys making a difference in the world. It's easy for you to forget who you are. You get so caught up in being whatever you need to be successful that you ignore the real you. If you're going to find your passion and purpose, you need to be who you are. You need to risk being vulnerable. So, Sam, you're a 2 and 3, right? So you're going to have some of these qualities. So, like, set those goals, go after them, like, chase your dreams, but don't forget that your, like, identity and your worth are not tied to what you achieve, which can be, I feel like that can even be true for 1s, like, feeling like you don't do enough or that you need to, like, be more successful than you are. So basic fears of 3s are being worthless. They desire to feel valuable. Their key motivations are that they want to be affirmed. They want to distinguish themselves from others, to have attention, to be admired, and impress others. So basically, if you think of Enneagram 3, just think of Rachel Hollis, because that's her. But they are successful, energetic, they're high achievers, but sometimes their weaknesses are that they are overworked, impatient, and can be super competitive. All right, Enneagram 4. So this is the individualist. So I'm just going to be honest that like 4, 5, 6 are ones that I'm not as familiar with. So I'm learning about this just like right alongside you guys. So nostalgia never fails. They admire the simple beauty in everything. So they love love. They're artsy. They need meaning, a purpose. They need identity. The best days are rainy days. Authenticity is key. Their fears are that they're going to be flawed, live in depression or anger. They cry at everything. And then what does this say? They have a desire to stand out. So if we go back, since I'm not familiar with these, if we go back, a 4 is Mike. So if you think of Friends, Mike is Phoebe's husband. So that all makes sense for Mike because he is super emotional a lot of the times. Like he's always super connected to Phoebe, loves love. He's always like super romantic, but he still wants things to have a meaning and a purpose. Authenticity is key. Like I feel like all of these describe Mike. So things that feel good to 4s are when they hear thanks for being real. So when their authenticity is noticed, they love being unique. They love rainy days. They love standing out in a crowd, finding beauty in something simple, and creating something from scratch. And they love when they're given validation on their purpose. So hearing like you were meant to do this. So that would be a really good way to encourage someone that you know who's an Enneagram 4 is telling them that like you were meant to do this kind of work and you're really good at it. So they're super compassionate, they're idealistic, and they have emotional depth. So they can really like relate to anybody and connect with anybody. But sometimes they can be moody and withdrawn and uncooperative at the same time. So a type 4, you have passion for creating beautiful things, whether that be through home decor, painting, clothing, ceramics, computer design, architecture, and more. You love to relate to friends, family, and colleagues at a deep level. Your feelings and emotions are essential to you, and you desire to share them with others. However, you need to be careful that you don't get too comfortable with an emotion that you get stuck in it. You will never be able to find your passion or purpose if you cannot be present at the moment. At your best, you help others celebrate the unique individuals they are, as well as help them recognize the importance of their own beauty. You have a gift of nurturing the ordinary into something unique and beautiful. Your uniqueness helps others to celebrate their individuality. So, like, reading that makes me think like type 4s would be really good coaches because they can relate to people on a really deep level and like kind of meet them where they are on their journey and give them the encouragement that they need. Whoops, go away. I don't know if y'all can see the little toolbar at the top, but it's covering up my stuff. There we go. Okay, let's go to type 4. So their basic fears are that they have no identity or their personal significance. So they want to find themselves and their significance to create an identity. They want to express themselves and their individuality to create and surround themselves with beauty, to maintain certain moods and feelings, to withdraw to protect their self-image, to take care of emotional needs before attending to anything else. So to attract a rescuer. That's kind of interesting. All right. Number 5 is the investigator. So that is Ross. So Ross is a 5. So they're a problem solver. They, like curiosity killed the cat. They're very curious. They thrive with alone time. They can easily isolate themselves. They always want to know why. They trust their head over their heart. They fear being incapable or not having any uses. So they always need to know how something will end or what something is. They're always researching. So 5s love staying home, having food delivered to them so they don't even have to leave their house. They love solving puzzles, finding a new fascination, reading a good book, having a conversation about one of their interests. They will word vomit all over you. They love having a few loyal friends. So the strengths of the Enneagram 5 are that they're scholarly, perceptive, and they're self-reliant. So they're super resourceful. And their weaknesses are that they can sometimes isolate themselves. They're a little bit overly intellectual, and they can be stingy, especially probably with their time. So you have a passion for learning about something that moves you in detail. You get great pleasure in sharing your excitement with others. You are a great observer, so you see things that many of us miss because we are not paying attention. Too often you allow your fear of looking stupid get in the way of them sharing. You also see, I think it says internet unstable. Too often you allow your fear of looking stupid get in the way of them sharing what you are learning. However, people need you to share your valuable wisdom with them, even when it does not feel complete to you. You can spend too much time in your imaginary world where passions and dreams are never found. At your best, you pass on your passion for learning. You are persevering, analytical, wise, objective, perceptive, and sensitive. You share your gift of observation where there is tension, conflict, calm, and understanding. You can help groups move into greater health. So we're on 5, right? Yeah. So Enneagram 5, go away. So their basic fear is being useless, helpless, or incapable. And their basic desire is to be capable and competent. So they want to be seen as the person that knows everything and always has the answer. Their key motivations are that they want to possess knowledge, to understand the environment, to have everything figured out. So I think Enneagram 5s can probably get stuck in thinking that they have to know it all before they get started. So if you have 5 tendencies, don't get so worked up and tied up in having all of the information before you start taking action, especially in this business, because this business is an learn as you go, take action and figure it out along the way. Because if you tried to learn everything before you ever got started, you would literally never get started. So that's where I can see something where a 5 could get tripped up in coaching or doing any kind of business. So a 6 is the loyalist. Hang on, let me plug my computer in, guys. It's going to die. All right, so number 6 is a loyalist. So they need clear validations. They do troubleshooting before asking for help. They must prove themselves. They're always watching true crime TV shows. They love deep, and they think that the world is dangerous and scary. They do not, so something don't do to 6s, don't judge them for their anxiety. Don't make them feel alone or not loved or make them doubt themselves. They will always love affirmations. They're very cautious and they need security. So things that feel good to 6s are when they prove themselves, having help when they show they need it. They love watching a favorite Netflix show alone. They love finding trust in someone, feeling prepared, and when their loyalty is recognized. And they love feeling secure and stable. So Enneagram 6 is loyal, courageous, attentive to other people and problems, often strategic thinkers. Their weaknesses is that sometimes they're suspicious, pessimistic, or doubtful. Let's see what they say about 6 over here. The loyalist. So you have a passion for making the world safer and compassion for all you meet. You have a desire for everyone to get along with each other, and you love sharing your sense of humor. Your purpose is to make sure what needs to be done gets done. Fear and anxiety too often get in the way of this personality type. Anxiety is the fear of something that may happen, and it usually doesn't happen. When you are in a place of tension, you are not living fully in your body, emotions, and mind. There is no way you can see what your passion and purpose are when you feel disconnected with who you are. At best, you are At your best, you are courageous. There is nothing that can stop you from doing what needs to be done to make the world a better place. Whatever you decide to work on will get done and done well. So I don't know if you guys know Becca, but I think she's a 6. I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure that she's a 6. So if we go over here to the Enneagram Institute, 6. So they are the committed, security-oriented type. So they're engaging, responsible, anxious, and sometimes suspicious. So their basic fear is of being without support and guidance. And they just want to have security. They just want to have that security and support. They want to feel supported by others, to have certitude and reassurance, to test the attitudes of others towards them, and to fight against anxiety and security. So with an Enneagram 6, their biggest struggle with coaching probably is just going to be like not letting their anxiety get the best of them and just staying present and staying focused on what is right in front of them. And they're always going to need some extra encouragement and affirmations and like extra, show them more that you love them, because it's something that sometimes they can doubt that. A 7. So a type 7 is the enthusiast. So this is Keisha Fitzgerald. I don't know if you guys know who she is or follow her on Instagram, but she's a Beachbody coach. She is actually who I'm doing my podcasting course with, and she's kind of switched gears from Beachbody coaching. Like, she still mentors her current team, but she's not actively building her business anymore, and she has started her own company. It's like a personal development community. But the 7 is like a squirrel. So they have a hard time focusing on things. They're super excited all the time. They can be impatient, overextended. They can hide a lot of their hurt. So they're very adventurous. They're the life of the party. So this is Joey. So they have a fear of missing out is real for them. The grass is greener on the other side. So they fear pain, and they always just want to have fun. So they're high energy, outgoing, joyful, playful. Things that make a 7 happy or feel good are throwing the best party, cheering someone up, going on an exciting adventure, making spontaneous decisions, feelings of fulfillment, not missing out, and finding a new friend. So those are the things that make them super happy. They are adventurous, fun-loving, and quick thinking. But sometimes they are self-absorbed, dispersed, and uncommitted. So they can kind of have a squirrel brain and be all over the place, but they are always super excited. They're fun to be around. And a lot of times they might think like it might be too much for some people because their personality is so big. So a 7, it says you have a zest for life. You are curious, open, playful, and adventurous. There is so much to experience in the world, and you want to experience as much of it as possible. You are open to whatever comes your way. If you fear to get in touch with any negative, uncomfortable feelings, you are going to miss much in life. You're going to run from adventure to adventure, trying to hide from your pain. The trouble is these feelings will only get worse until you face them. At your best, you're a person who lives your life to the fullest. You want to experience as much as possible because it makes your life more abundant. You bring a sense of curiosity to all you meet. You are a lot of fun to be with, and you are not afraid to try something new. So the 7 is the busy, variety-seeking type. They're spontaneous, versatile, acquisitive, and scattered. Like I said, they have a squirrel brain. So their basic fear is of being deprived or being in pain. So they just want to be satisfied and content and have their needs fulfilled. Their motivations are their want to maintain their freedom and happiness, to avoid missing out on worthwhile experiences, to keep themselves excited and occupied, and to avoid and discharge pain. So 7s just want to feel good all the time. So I think the biggest thing about being like an entrepreneur and being a 7 is just finding a way to keep yourself focused and like keep yourself from being all over the place all the time, and just being like even though they do have big personalities and they're excited all the time. And some people, like, sometimes that's going to be too much for people, but 7s just need to really like own who they are and don't be afraid to just be themselves. Okay, 2 more, guys. Number 8. So this is the challenger. So this is Janice from Friends. So saying no comes easy for them. They want to be tough. Honesty is their policy. They're a protector. They take care of themselves. They love risks. They value no nonsense, and they are assertive. So they handle conflict very well. Their fear is of not being in control and being vulnerable. And then their people are their people. So the challenger, like it says, they're very challenging and can possibly be kind of hard to deal with. So things that make them feel good are saying no, being able to be independent. They're super independent people. They like feeling empowered. They like protecting their people, making a difference and leaving a mark, and being in control of themselves. So loss of control is something that does not sit well with them. So in Enneagram 8, their strengths are that they're enthusiastic, they're generous, and they can be very powerful people. But they can be a little bit excessive, angry at times, and dominating. They always want to be in control. So you have an energy that few can keep up with. You know what you need to do, and this gift of insight comes naturally to you. Part of your purpose in life is to stand in solidarity with those who are shortchanged. You have great compassion for all you know to be in need. Wait, what? You have great compassion for all you know to be in need and ignored. You need to be careful about how others experience you. You never intend to act aggressively, but too often people feel intimidated by your behavior. So don't be afraid to show your vulnerable side. Find safe places and people to help you be vulnerable. At your best, you are a mover and shaker in the world. You intuitively know what needs to be done, and you don't like to mess about when there is something important to do. You love it when people join you and trust you, know what you are doing. You have a big heart that desires to help anyone struggling through life. So 8s have a big heart. They're hard workers. They have high energy, and they're always ready to do something. They don't like messing around. They like to just get down to business and do it. So they're the powerful, dominating type. They're self-confident, decisive, willful, and confrontational. So they have a fear of being harmed or controlled by others. They always want to be in control. And they have a basic desire to protect themselves, just to be in control of their own life and destiny. They want to be self-reliant, to prove their strength and resist weakness, to be important in the world, to dominate the environment, and to stay in control of their situation. So I can see Enneagram 8s being really good entrepreneurs just because they want to be in control of what they're doing, but they also just want to be in control of their life and their freedom. And entrepreneurship and doing a business like this can give you that. You just have to be self-disciplined enough to do the work to get to that freedom. So just something to keep in mind as an 8 is just to be aware of your need to be in control of things, and like constantly be working on letting go of some of that control and being okay if you're not in control all the time, which is kind of hard because I'm the same way as a 1, because I like for things to be done right, like for them to be done on time. And a lot of times I feel like if I just do them myself, that it'll be easier. But just like capitalize on the fact that you're enthusiastic, that you love what you do, that you have high energy, and just be conscious and be aware of the fact that you can be a little bit controlling and a little bit aggressive or challenging towards others. Last one. So this is my wing. So I'm a 1 wing 9. A 9 is the peacemaker. So I can relate to so many of the things that are typical of 9s. So your agenda is my agenda. They're the peacemaker. Whatever you want to do is good with me. Their strengths are that they're stable, ambitious, trusting, and accepting. and they don't want anyone to fight. They just want everyone to get along. They're very patient. They're easygoing. They want to keep the peace. They fear being left out or being singled out. They fear being loveless. They fear conflict, and they don't like anger. That is so me. I hate conflict. I hate confrontation. I just want people to get along. I want people to be happy. They love long talks with a good friend. They love avoiding conflict. They like quiet nights at home, being told thank you when someone makes me feel important. And they like when they're not being taken advantage of. So their strengths are that they're balanced, accepted, and harmonious. Sometimes they can be stubborn, ambivalent, and conflict avoidant. So the biggest thing for me is the conflict avoiding. Oh gosh, I'm terrible with that. So your passion is to bring peace to the world. Your purpose is to help people understand each other, and you are amazing at knowing what it feels like to be in other people's shoes. While you may be quiet, you are always observing what is going on. Your mission is to bring peace wherever you are. Knowing and understanding the different perspectives of people can be onerous at times. It can be hard to make a decision when you know how it is going to impact other people. It's especially hard when you don't like upsetting anyone else. You risk getting to the point where you don't express what you need because you're fearful of upsetting others. At your best, you are an excellent mediator and hard worker for peace in your family or the world. You are great at helping people to understand the different points of view. You are fantastic at helping people find ways to resolve conflict if the parties are open. You can read a room well, so you are great at bringing people together for the good of the world. So there are the easygoing, self-effacing type, receptive, reassuring, agreeable, and complacent. So they fear loss and separation, and they just have a desire for inner stability and peace of mind. So they want to create harmony in their environment, avoid conflicts and tension, to preserve things as they are, and to resist whatever would upset or disturb them. So they like things the way they are. They want to keep the peace. And like, honestly, like that can be a weakness, is just wanting to keep the peace and avoiding conflict and not like standing up for yourself or standing up for things when you know you should, even, and you do that just because you want to avoid the conflict. And I know, especially for me, like to have tendencies of a 9 is like you avoid conflict until it gets to the point where it's just like you can't take it anymore, and it's a big huge explosion, and it's a big huge fight when it could have been a few small conversations a few weeks ago, and now it's like this big huge ordeal. But that is all I have for us with the types. So now that we kind of know what they all are, we can look at, I think I love the friends comparison. I think it just makes it so much easier to understand all of them because we know all of them so well. So what y'all think?
Well, and I think like just this will be good. Like I think so many people are into Enneagrams right now. Like this will help us. Like if we have just like an understanding of everybody, how to market it to people. One, how to market to people, and two, how to what concerns they have. We're like, okay, I know why you're thinking this because I know you, and this is what I know you need to hear to feel good. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So Lindsay Matway actually, so I was looking at the form that she has people fill out when they want to join her mentorships, and she asks them what their Enneagram is like one of the questions. And if you ever, like, her form is so, like, it takes a while to fill it out, but it's so, like, gives you so much insight into that person and who they are. And because she's at a stage in her business where she is super picky on who she works with. Like, she will only work with a certain type of person who actually is really serious about wanting to build a business and wanting to do this. She doesn't just accept anyone. And at least for like her personal mentorships. But like if you ever like go to her Instagram, to her link in her bio, to the form that she has, and look at it, because it's super long, but I love it. And there's like a bunch of elements in it that I want to pull out and use in mine, just because it really helps you get to know that person. And like asking somebody who you're talking to, like, oh, what's your Enneagram number? Like, that just gives you something else to talk about. And especially if they're the same number as you, or if there's somebody who is totally different than you, but if you're familiar with it, you can say, oh, like, I know all about, like, say they're a 4, and you're like, oh, I know all about 4s. That's like Ross on Friends, and you're super, like, you want to know all the information. And so that's the person that you're going to need to give all the information. Like, they're going to want to know all the details. They're going to look through everything. Like, you are not going to overload a 4 with information. When if you're talking to a 7, they probably don't want all the information. They don't need all that. So it can just kind of give us some insight of, like, okay, what does this person need? How do they need this information? And what's the best way to give it to them? That's a really good point, Sam. So, Christy Mooney, what was your number? What are your numbers?
I did it last year and got a 9, and then this year it said I was a 7. So I don't really know.
I totally see you more as a 9 than a 7. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see both.
Can you be a 9, jump over 8 in week 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, 8.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. I guess I'm thinking that you're, like, more of a 9 just because you're, like, most of the time you're pretty quiet, and most of the 7s I know are like crazy all the time.
Yeah.
That's
But, like, I just see it, like, in your lifestyle, like, where you always have something going on, like, whether it's horses, whether it's lessons, whether it's teaching, like, you're very spontaneous in that you're, like, willing to pick up new things whenever you need to, stuff like that.
yeah, that's true too.
And both.
But no, I love it. I'm going to share in the chat. I'm going to put some of my favorite Enneagram accounts to follow on Instagram because there's so many. Oh my gosh. There's so many, but it's been so good. I wish I had a thing where I could share my phone screen on here. Now my phone's not going to work. Brush and Barley is one of my favorites. She's this, like, her graphics are so pretty. So there's Enneagram and Coffee, Enneagram, Ashton. There are so many, and there's so much stuff that you can look up about it. But I just love how it is, like, it's scary how spot on it is. Like, how true it is for you. Like, when you know what your number is, and then you start seeing, like, the memes or the graphics that people make, like, describing a type 1 or a type 2, like, you're like, yeah, that's so me. Or there's even ones that are like, okay, what is quarantine like for a 1? What are they doing? And it's like, yep, that's everything that I'm doing. Crazy.
Well, and I think too, it like helps you understand other people. Like my mother-in-law is like 100% a 4, and Allison knows her, but I know the Christies don't. She's an art teacher. Okay, definitely a 4, and it's like, okay, that's why she cries all the time. Like she came over here the other day, and watched Frozen, the movie Frozen, and was crying in the movie Frozen. And then, like, she hadn't seen Elise in a while just because with everything going on, and she's still working. And so she cried when she got here. She cried when she was leaving. She cried in the middle of being here. She cried. I mean, so she just cried the whole day. Alex and I place bets on if something will make Michelle cry or not. And I'm like, totally a 4. Totally a 4.
Yeah. I want to make my mom and my sister take it because I don't know if they are. I think my mom's probably a 1 like me, but I'm not really sure what my sister is. My sister might be a 7. And yeah, because she's very spontaneous and just kind of always all over the place. But it would be like, I just want to know what they are. And I want to know what Tyler is, because I've not been able to get him to take it yet because he's stubborn and doesn't do anything I say. But
So probably an 8.
yeah,
If he won't,
probably is.
if he says no.
Let's do that. Whenever you do get Tyler to take it, like look up the compatibility of your all's numbers, and it was like super helpful because like where Nathan and I are both 2s, but I'm a 2 wing 1, he's a 2 wing 3. Like it tells you like all the qualities that make you a good couple, and then it tells you the things like, hey, like you need to work on this so you guys can keep, because like with us both being helpers, we want to help the other person so much that we don't often think about ourselves. And so in our relationship tip, it said you have to work on you so you can help the other person work on themselves. And so like that was one of the big things for us. And we were like, we can totally see that, you know, when we're both working on ourselves, we're at our best.
Right.
You know? So I actually made my in-laws take it, and they're divorced for the second time now. It's absurd. But
got married and divorced and got married again and divorced again.
yeah, and now they're living back together. It's nuts.
What?
It is nuts.
Love.
It's nuts. So I made them take the test, and one was a 6, one was a 7. And when you compared their numbers for their relationship, it said they will not end up together. It said that they would struggle so much to stay together, and I'm like, totally true.
Told ya. That's so funny. That's hilarious. Huh. Yeah, I need to get Tyler to take it. I just have I never remember it, like when we're sitting on the couch doing nothing. I never remember it, because to get him to take it, I'm gonna have to read him the questions and be like, what do you
That's what I did.
your answer? And he's not gonna do it by himself. But I really want to get him to read Dave Hollis's book, because I think it would help so much. Like I think every man in the world needs to read it, because it's like so relatable. And especially because I feel like men most of the time are more skeptical of like personal growth, and like the thought of like, you can have more than this, like you don't have to settle for this life just because this is what your family has always done, or this is what like you're destined to do. Like you can make your own decisions and do whatever you want in life. Like I don't know, more like kind of stuck in whatever situation they're in, and like obviously they try to make the best of it, but they don't always see like outside of those like set walls that they're in or whatever. But he's just not a reader, and I'm like, I wish you'd read it. He's like, I don't think it's like crap that you read all that stuff and do all this, but he's just like, I'm just not gonna do it. Like, why? It's so good. Like, it would blow your mind. You would just
He didn't even do his high school work himself. Let's be honest.
That's very true. No.
Maybe like, does he do audiobooks? Like Nathan won't read, but he'll listen to a book.
If I have a podcast in the car and he gets in, he's like, turn that shit